A quick reminder before we begin the episode. If you haven't rated and reviewed our podcast yet, please consider doing it now. It only takes a second and makes a huge difference to us. With that being said, on with the show. All events depicted in this podcast are real. However, the names, locations, and some details have been changed for the privacy of those involved. Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 7 of Walking on Eggshells with an Emotional Vampire, a podcast that above all things is about family. A quick warning for the listener. The word feces, or one of its derivatives, is used 86 times over the runtime of this episode. During our weekly sibling group chats, Ellie, Aria and I don't just discuss fucked up family detective business, even if that's what the group chat was scheduled for. Sliding off the topic here. All I need is 10 minutes of recording time on topic and we're done and then you can go. So just give me that and then we're done.
Well, fucking hurry up. Come on, I'm in the middle of a movie.
Ooh, what are you watching?
I don't know, some Christmas movie.
Sometimes the constant distractions and veering off topic really bothers me. But other times, I just go with it.
Broderick, what's his name?
You know he was a murderer? He killed someone with his car.
What, Ferris Bueller?
Yeah, he hit someone with his car and killed them, and then he took a break from acting because he was going through turmoil or whatever. Or
really?
Yeah, because he murdered someone.
It was an accident though, right? Or
well, they all say they're an accident. It used to bother me a lot more, all the topic shifting. But the truth is, some of our best discoveries come when we're in the weeds somewhere on another subject.
Because he really wanted to mow down an innocent person and then take a break from acting career because he had a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
That's what he wanted to do.
He mowed them down and then he sung Twist and Shout. It was awesome.
did he? Well, that's a bit sick and twisted, isn't it?
Did you hear that Ferris Bueller reference there? Did anyone get it?
I did.
I wasn't listening. What did you say?
I said he mowed them down and then he sung Twist and Shout. Yeah?
Oh, God.
By the way, this conversation isn't one of those great discoveries. And then he was like, Dankeschön. I'm still just a little sore that no one found my Ferris Bueller reference amusing.
Okay, then.
You know, because he sung Dankeschön in the shower using the shower head as a microphone, you know?
Moving right along from that.
However, this next conversation did give me the idea for this episode. Have you guys been listening to any good podcasts lately? Anything worth sharing?
I'm actually listening to one that's about a cult. It's about one in Australia. So it's about a guy.
What's it called?
It is called The Tribe.
The Tribe. Is it any good?
It's all right, but then there's just some bits that are a bit long-winded, I suppose.
That's one of the things that I hate the most in a true crime podcast. When they take a thin story and then just try and keep stretching it for season after season. My perfect podcast is 8 to 10 highly edited, compact episodes. You know, that's what I like. I heard The Lady Vanishes. That's one where it just never ends. That's what I heard. So I haven't bothered listening to that one.
Yeah, The Lady Vanishes. I want to know what happens, but it's long. There's a lot of episodes.
I feel like it's just laziness. Like they're so scared that they won't come up with a new idea that they just want to milk that same idea and get as much as they can out of it. But by doing it, they just completely kill it.
But the reason...
Then the other big thing that I hate with podcasts is when it doesn't have an ending to it. I hate it when it builds up like they're solving the mystery and then it ends and they don't solve anything. And it's almost like they tricked you into listening for 10 episodes.
You want to know a finale. You want to know a finish. You want to know an ending or, you know, what's happened, who it was, did they catch the person, whatever,
You want closure.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's the type of podcast, if I had any choice, that's what I would make. I would love to make a true crime podcast with a real crime that gets investigated and solved and feels like a noir detective story. Like what's that podcast? It's Serial. Serial's one of the first podcasts I ever listened to and still probably one of the best.
Yeah, Serial's good.
Yeah, it is good. And I think that's what I want to make. I want to make a podcast like that. That's my dream, I think. I just have to make sure that when I do make the episode, it has a good ending. It needs to have closure. I think that's really important. Although, I don't think they do get closure at the end of Serial, do they? Even though I did tell the sisters about my true crime podcast ambitions, I didn't actually believe them. They were more like a long-term pipe dream than any sort of short-term possibility. I just don't have access to any cold case files to reopen. Who does? My guess is for that I'd need to get some kind of a special journalist license. Or maybe I'd need to cozy up with a lead investigator. It actually sounds pretty cool, but not really something achievable. Not right now, anyway. So for the time being, I decided to put the whole idea on the back burner, next to my Ruski Avenger graphic novel. But then I remembered that thing that happened a few years back. Maybe that'd be worth taking a look at.
So I was kind of getting ready for work. So it was after like the weekend, and I sort of gotten ready for work, and obviously had my breakfast and whatever, and just have a coffee or whatever it is that you do in the morning, and then so I went outside to get in the car, and so when I went around to the driver's side, I kind of glanced at the garden, and I was like, what the fuck is that? And then I obviously went a little bit closer, and I was like, it's a huge shit. Like, it's a huge turd. Like, it was big. Like, it wasn't a small one. It was quite a large one. And then I was like, is that toilet paper?
When Ellie and Bruce bought and relocated their small family to a comfortable, secure home in a quiet suburban neighbourhood, they never dreamed that one day they might be subjected to criminal activity like this.
Just kind of like that. So beside the ginormous turd was this toilet paper. And then I was kind of like in my head going, did someone shat in our garden? Did someone come down the driveway? Because the driveway is quite long. And then I was like, has someone come down the driveway with some toilet paper and done a shit?
Now, before everyone starts downplaying the information that I'm giving them and protesting that investigating a stray dump found in my sister's garden does not constitute a true crime podcast, I just want to make something clear from the get-go. Dropping a log of any size on someone's private property is a crime. And if you don't believe me, here are some cold, hard facts to back me up. On February 19th, 2019, a 24-year-old woman went for a walk with a friend along Pittwater Road in the Sydney suburb of Brookvale, an area, for reference, which is not far from where Bruce and Ellie reside. At around 1:55 a.m. on the Friday morning, the two women decided to sneak into a car dealership, where the 24-year-old woman climbed into the tray of an Isuzu Ute, squatted down, and pumped out a gigantic, steaming dump. In the interest of keeping my investigative integrity, I will concede that in this last part I did use some journalistic license, and that in none of the evidence that I uncovered about the incident was there any mention of the size, shape, or temperature of the deposit that the lady left in the vehicle. What I did discover, though, was this. The perpetrator was fined $850 for the indiscretion and ordered to clean up the mess personally. In further investigation, I found that she did so using a latex glove. And while these findings did give me an example of a similar crime located in the area, and an example of the legal action that was taken, it didn't give me the actual crimes that were committed, or how they were persecuted. To get this information, I would need to dig deeper, like any good true crime podcaster would.
Hello, Lucas.
Yes, it is me. That's hello.
It's funny, I was just looking over your email now about this whole incident.
That's great. I actually wasn't 100% sure that you would pick up the phone, so this is perfect. I'm stoked about it. After uncovering the story about the 24-year-old Isuzu Ute defiler, I thought it would be a boss true crime podcaster maneuver to get in touch with one of the lawyers assigned to her case for a statement. You're a lot closer to this whole type of thing than I am, so just any insights that you might have would be great.
It's always touchy when you're dealing with a case that gains media attention like this one. And when it's something sensitive that has a stigma attached to it, like in a case like this one, it's going to be really difficult. but rewarding too. So it's something that, once I get my certification, I'm really looking forward to getting into.
As it turns out, finding a lawyer who worked on this specific case who was willing to talk with me on the record proved to be problematic. In fact, getting any credentialed law professional to talk with me on the record was impossible. Lucky for me, however, I was able to find this final year law student who was willing to be recorded and give me some valuable perspectives from inside the criminal justice system. Go about getting someone charged for, defecation in public.
There isn't a crime that is specifically categorized as defecating in public, but that doesn't mean it's not illegal. There are loads of crimes that aren't specifically categorized. It's kind of the way the law works. Instead of having hundreds of all these very specific crimes written into legislation, there are just these broad umbrella terms that many crimes fall under.
On a later fact check of this conversation, I would find this all to be true.
That's what lawyers are there for, to argue whether a specific incident falls under one of those umbrella terms.
For example, when Matthew Broderick maliciously ran down 2 women on the streets of Northern Ireland, they couldn't convict him of brutal car murder, which is what it was. They instead had to get him on the umbrella term of careless driving. Yeah, that's interesting. I never heard that before. So if I can't get someone charged with defecation in public, then what should I be looking at getting them charged with?
Well, depending on circumstances, there are a few possible convictions. For example, in the Brookvale case, at the car dealership, that woman was charged with 2 offences. One was for unlawfully entering enclosed land without lawful excuse. The other one was for offensive conduct. Both of those have different penalties connected to them.
Okay, so if I do find out who took the shit in the sister's yard, then those are the convictions that I should be looking for.
I don't think you should be looking for convictions at all at this point.
Okay.
First, you need to gather some evidence for the police to make an arrest.
Yep. But if I can get someone arrested, then those are the convictions that I should look for then.
If you get someone arrested, then you engage with a lawyer to help decide on what conviction to go for.
Is that something you would be interested in helping me with, maybe?
If you manage to get a conviction, and when you do, I have my whole certification, then yeah, I'm sure it's something I can help you with.
Okay, well, just be aware I am going to hold you to that. So if you get a call from me in the future, don't be surprised. I'm going to expect you to help me out on this one.
Yeah, sure, why not?
When I managed to secure this phone interview for recording, I was ecstatic. It felt like the first domino being knocked over that would cause the inevitable avalanche to follow. But as I hung up the phone and let those final words ring in my ears, something important dawned on me. I shouldn't be wasting my time on charges and sentences. I'm not trying to convict anyone. I'm not some lame TV sitcom trial lawyer. I'm Lucas fucking Shaw. I'm a true crime podcast detective, and I need to do what a true crime podcast detective does. I need to conduct interviews, review crime scenes, establish motives. I need to do whatever I can to crack the case wide open. And you know what? That's what I'm gonna do.
Just silence again. Okay then.
Well, this is what I've come to expect. Are you recording, L-Bag?
L-Bag's recording.
Okay, sweet. And A-Bag is recording as well.
Wait, so am I the A-bag? Because that sounds awful.
You are 100% an A-Bag.
The L-bag and the L-bag. So we've got 2 L-bags and the A-bag.
Yes, we do. But let's move on from that one. That's not really what I came to talk about today. What I wanted to go over is what I've been doing for the last week. Because I got super motivated and I've been jotting down notes and just trying to get the thoughts clear in my head of everything to do with the case. And it's been awesome. I feel like a real detective. And I just want to share my findings with you guys, and then from there maybe we can move on and then get some more information. But there's just a few things that I want to knock down first before I move on.
This is not another one of those flowchart fucking mountain bell curb graph things, is it?
It's not exactly like that. Like, I mean, I did buy a notebook that I've been putting all my thoughts down in, but so it's not exactly like that. But
okay, so it is.
You didn't send us any notes, though.
No.
I know, yeah.
Look, let's not focus on the notebook.
Yeah, I was never going to print that out.
Yeah, I know you weren't going to print it. Let's just focus on the findings that I've got. Don't focus on the notebook. Let's focus on what I've found, and we'll go through that. Okay. Okay. So the first thing that I thought I really needed to debunk was just whether there was actually a crime here, because so I know there's a shit in the yard and all that, but I just couldn't get past the fact that was it actually a human shit? Like, why couldn't it be an animal that did it? And how much do we know about just what human shit and animal shit looks like? So I actually did a lot of research on this, but yeah, like why? How do we know it's not just some animal that did it?
The toilet paper?
Oh my God.
You've missed one crucial part.
Man, do you know how many hours I spent looking at mountains of human shit?
You think someone just came and wiped some dog's ass and then left
No,
it?
I forgot about the toilet paper.
You should have just talked to Aria first. She would have told you.
I looked at least 100 photos of individual human dumps. And that's not even counting all the animal shit that I looked at.
Did any of the shits look like the shit?
I can't believe that's how you spend the afternoon.
Bear shit looked pretty close, to be honest.
Like, we don't have any bears.
I know we don't have any bears. It also, there was too many berry seeds in the bear shit for it to be.
Yeah, because there was a bear that walked into the yard, and then the bear actually got the toilet paper and wiped its own ass to throw everyone's scent off.
I know. It's very funny. I know.
I feel like you're going to cry. Are you all right?
It's just a lot. I can't get those images out of my head. I couldn't eat dinner after I looked at them. It was sickening.
That's fucking hilarious.
As demoralizing as the ridicule of Ellie and Aria was, I was determined not to let it affect me for long. All detectives go through setbacks, but it's the truly great ones that persevere and overcome. So, with teeth clenched, I pushed forward. You know, I could get hung up on it, but look, what I expected to happen, I thought I was going to come in and I'd say, hey guys, look at all this awesome detectiving that I've done. I've done all this work and now it's conclusive. This is a crime and now we can move on.
You really took the long way around to find that out. Like, the full long way.
I did, but at least I feel like it's been conclusively marked off the list now, so that's something.
I thought that was already marked off the list with the toilet.
I still feel like it was valuable, even though it got shot down. I still
shot
feel
down
like
in flames 2 seconds into the conversation.
Shot down in some flaming toilet paper next to the pile of turd.
Flaming turd.
Well, now that it has been shut down 100% and we know that it was a human that left the deposit behind, the next thing that I want is, Ellie, if you can talk about the events that led up to you finding the shit, if you want to tell us that.
Okay. So that weekend, on the same night, the neighbours were also having a party. So we've got, because we're in a battle axe block that's at the back, so we've got some neighbours that are sort of at the front near where the driveway is, and that's their backyard, if you know what I mean. So we don't really see them, but that's just where their backyard is, kind of starts, and then it goes out, and then there's a bunch of trees, so you don't really see them. But I think it was their sons or I don't know whether they've got one or two sons, but I know he had friends over and they were having a party, and they were up quite late as well. So,
so you had a bunch of drunk people next door.
Yeah. So they were about, I think they were 20-year-olds or something like that. So quite.
When Ellie mentioned the house party next door, it was no surprise to me. This incident happened years ago and had been a semi-regular topic of conversation since. So as far as the basic details of the night in question, there isn't much I don't know. But if the party in question was the only unusual thing about that night, I wouldn't be recording this episode. Obviously, the turd would have been laid by a rowdy partygoer on a dare. The problem is, the neighbours weren't the only suspects in the vicinity that night. I mean, you've got a bunch of drunken kids next door, getting drunk, getting rowdy, right in the vicinity of the crime. That is 100% a thing to consider. But Was there anything else unusual that happened that weekend? Anything else leading up to the event that might be worth mentioning?
Dad was coming up. Dad was coming up with Mary. You know, they often, you know, come up and might stay the night or whatever and that sort of thing. So I think he was actually staying Friday night and Saturday night.
Yep, you guessed it. On the night in question, there were 2 more suspects staying in the vicinity of the crime. And, like the gathering next door, these new suspects also made the most of that night.
Friday night wasn't that eventful. We just kind of sat and ate some food and, you know, chatted and that sort of thing. And then Saturday night rolled around and we decided we'd have like a bonfire and, you know, we were all outside having loads of drinks kind of thing.
As mentioned earlier, I already knew the basic details of the night. So it was no surprise to find out that Dad and Mary were celebrating with Ellie and Bruce on the Saturday. So why was I asking the questions at all? Some of you might be asking. Well, I'm certain that a professional detective wouldn't be asking me that question. It's too obvious. I'm conducting an interview with a witness, and as an investigator, I need to push and prod and question through the obvious answers to get to the hidden gems beneath. The seemingly unimportant things that have been missed previously that might hold clues. Things like any behaviours that might seem out of the ordinary.
You guys are all drinking. Dad would have been drinking as well. That goes without saying. What about Mary? What was she up to?
So Mary was all right, you know, like all chatty and stuff. And then she started drinking. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never really seen her drink that much.
Does she even drink? Aria, have you ever seen Mary drink?
No, I don't think so.
So I've seen her drink, but she never like has a few too many or whatever. She's always very, I'll have 2 or 3 drinks and that's all kind of thing. She will never. But this night, for some reason, she also had quite a bit more than I've ever seen her drink ever.
So how drunk was she?
Pretty drunk, like whereas, you know, the kind of drunk where you're getting quite loud and...
Repeating yourself.
And what? Beating?
Repeating yourself.
Yeah, so, you know, like just you know, getting quite happy and really, you know, like...
Stumbly?
Yes, a little bit.
Oh, so pretty drunk.
Yeah, so this is what I'm saying. I've never seen that from her. I mean, Dad, you know, he's always drinking anyway, but she was having more than what I'd ever seen her drink. So
Mary's intoxication was an intriguing discovery, and one that changed the entire texture of the night in question. Dad has always drank and partied hard. In fact, there's a pretty strong argument that he's a functioning alcoholic. And Mary often played the role of his sober reminder to not go overboard with the boozing. But this time, that sober influence was gone. And that's probably why, at the time of the crime, our dad's legendary drinking habits were escalated even further.
We were all drinking red wine, and I don't know why, but Bruce said to Dad, "Do you want a glass of wine?" And he said, "Yes, yep, I'll have a glass of red wine."
Okay.
I don't know whether you've ever seen Dad drink red wine, but it's the very first time ever.
No, never.
He never ever drinks wine.
He just drinks beer and straight vodka, that's it.
So he's like, yeah, I'll have a wine. I was like, oh, that's weird. I was like, okay. So anyway, so he's kind of inside, whatever. I go outside to do something, and then I forget I've forgotten something or whatever. So I come back inside, and anyway, Dad's standing like near the sink, and he's like, I've just put Coke in this, and I was like, I was like, okay. I was like, how does it taste? You know, like, oh, yeah. You know, like in my head going, oh, that sounds disgusting.
What the hell? Coke and red wine?
And he was like, he kind of had a sip and went, oh, it's all right, you know. And I was like, oh, okay.
Just throw it out.
I was like, you know, just tip it down the sink or whatever. I was like, don't worry about drinking it or whatever. Like, that sounds disgusting. And then, so I go back outside, and then I come back in, and then the glass is empty. And I went, I was like, did you tip it out? And he went, yeah, you know, it wasn't that good kind of thing. So I tipped it out. And I was like, okay. But then when I was looking in the sink, I didn't see any like remnants or any, you know, like a little drop of red that might have splashed on the sink when he tipped it out. Or
So you think he drank it?
I think he sculled it. I think he downed it.
Can't waste any of that precious alcohol.
Well, this is the thing, because he almost looked a little bit guilty when I came back in, as if he'd done something.
Chugging full glasses of red wine and Coke. This certainly is unusual behaviour. But is it possible that it played a part in future events? I'm not sure. On later research, I would find that red wine has been shown to have an inherent laxative effect, so it's entirely possible. I wonder what other hidden truths there were to uncover from this interrogation. As it turned out, there was at least one more.
And then, every time Dad went to get up, he'd get up and go, oh, oh. And she would literally like run to him and be like, oh my God, are you okay? Like trying to grab him and help him up and stuff. And he was like, oh, get away, I'm fine, don't touch me,
Dad and Mary always had that relationship. I used to hate it. It's like a weird, like she's the mummy and he's the son. And I think there's even something weirdly sexual about it too. It used to really creep me out.
Yes. Yeah, but that's what it was like. And then at one point, she went to grab him again and he just went, stop touching me, like that. Like he was really like...
Was this when he was having the lower back issues?
Yeah.
But he was off the medication, right?
No, he would have still been on the blood thinners at that point.
Okay.
But obviously he had the hip thing, didn't he? So he wasn't walking very well. He was walking with his chest forward a little bit, and his bum sticking out just because that was probably the most comfortable for him to walk. So he was still pretty like... He couldn't do too much, do you know what I mean? So he's still on the blood thinners and he was also,
Isn't that when he had that, he built the mechanical brace or thing that he had?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
What was that thing? It's like a torso piece of armor or something that he strapped to him, like a girdle.
Yes. I think he told me he made it out of pipe.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, the PVC pipe.
PVC pipe, that's right, yeah.
And then he'd kind of flattened it but shaped it to the shape of his back.
Yeah, with a blowtorch and a hammer. That's what he told me.
Then he had like two, almost like seatbelt straps, but the thin ones, like you have on like a backpack or something. And
No. They weren't seatbelt straps. They were those industrial strength, quick release, load bearing straps, like the type that forklift drivers use. And he had those across the front to hold it onto his back.
I don't know whether he'd glued them or he'd kind of sewn them somehow onto this thing, plastic thing.
No, he riveted them in because he needed to put serious force on it. That's why he used those Oki straps, because he had to force it up against his spine to keep it straight. It would have been so uncomfortable.
Yeah, just bag strapped across his belly.
I actually used to kind of like it when he wore it because you'd walk up and you sort of feel his back and it was really solid. I used to always tap it. I'd be like...
I think I did too. You'd feel it and you'd want to like knock on it or something.
It was hard not to. It made that really satisfying, like hollow, like noise. It was awesome. I think he used to like it too. You'd do it and then he'd give you that knowing look and kind of give you a bit of a nod.
He's like, yes. I am Robocop.
I had assumed that after conducting this interview that I would have a better idea of who committed the crime. But in actual fact, I felt the opposite. I now had more suspects than ever, and pages of unusual facts about the night that I wasn't sure were even significant. Luckily, it was around this time that we had organised an in-person sibling get-together at Ellie's place, where I would get the chance to review the crime scene firsthand.
So we're using hedges here, right? And in between this one and that one, that's where it was.
It's because this was all open before.
Yeah, so there was no carport or anything on there. And then we had hedges all the way along here, so you couldn't walk along here.
Okay.
One of a detective's worst enemies is time. The way it foggies memories, distorts opinions, and transforms crime scenes. Fortunately, in this case, most of the changes to the crime scene were simply cosmetic. The overall layout had stayed virtually the same and was ready to be scrutinised.
So, you think that, like, he shit between the hedges?
Yes.
Okay.
But the weird thing was when I seen it, there was toilet paper with it as well. So that's what I was like, yeah, so if someone was playing a prank or, I'm going to go shit on someone's lawn, I feel like they wouldn't take paper. I don't know.
You think it might have been the neighbours? Oh, he's just there. Sorry. Surely he's not listening.
I'm not sure if it's clear from the audio, but while we openly discussed the case by the crime scene, Ellie realised that one of her neighbours had been on the other side of the fence the whole time.
You're worried because that guy's there? Surely he's not
He's
listening
not
to
gonna
us.
understand what you're talking
No.
You can literally hear, like, he talked to us over the fence, so I don't know.
The next part of the recording is hard to make out, but if you listen carefully, you can hear Ellie tell us that she thinks the guy on the other side of the fence could actually be the perpetrator.
Yeah, but it's like the worst time because they're outside as well, and I thought it was them.
Just wait 2 seconds and then it's done.
Can you pause it?
I can stop it.
Either way, shortly after I stopped the recording, the man left, and we were able to press on. Oh, and another thing. If you're wondering who that unrecognised voice is, the one that's got the Scandinavian accent, that's my wife Lily. She was around for this recording.
Some of the things.
Let's come over here. I want to have a look at this thing. We won't go over to the area again because the neighbours might hear. I've got to work on this thing. Yeah. So what Ari is doing right now.
Yes.
What you're hearing Aria do here is squat down and shuffle her way between the hedges into the dumping zone.
I mean, that is pretty intense.
So, but no, it was at the back.
What the heck? So, literally in jungle with spider
So it
webs
was
and
literally,
things.
see those bushes there?
Yeah.
So it was
The surprise reactions that you're hearing come from the realization of the physical prowess needed to first get to the location and then hold the defecating position long enough under a low bush to perform the task.
Oh my god.
Wait, I gotta
Do
go
you know
over
what I
that
mean?
one.
That's really intense.
So it was in, like it wasn't like it was here. It was in.
It would certainly take someone limber to achieve this disturbing goal. I couldn't see delicate old Mary achieving it. She just didn't seem strong enough. You would need thick, pulsating Cossack upper thigh muscles to perform this task. The problem was, Dad had the lower back issue at the time, so it kind of ruled him out too. That was until Ellie put forward a theory that changed everything.
There's no wind because I can hear the wind on there. Okay, what you're thinking.
What I was thinking is whoever it is has put their bum on the bottom rung of the bottom paling of the fence. You know, the ones that.
And you're thinking they leaned against the fence in there.
So
No, that would make sense.
bum on the bottom.
Yeah, like Ari's doing over here.
Would that work?
Oh yeah, that's way more comfortable squatting. It's like a lip of a toilet seat you can sort of lean on.
So you don't have much because obviously it's not very wide, but you could just kind of lean the back of your.
Yeah, you could probably shoot
And if you were drunk, then you'd probably need that kind of leverage because you'd probably keep falling over.
Well, that's right.
You definitely can lean on that bottom rung.
Can you?
Yeah.
So that's what I was imagining.
Watching Aria display the execution of the crime was helpful. But as a thorough investigator, I needed to experience a tangible connection to the perpetrator's criminal mind. A connection that I could only get from experiencing the crime scene personally.
You're gonna
So-
try and sit there now?
I'm going to have to do that. That's an important part of my investigation.
So have a seat, like.
I'm going to try it out. No, this is perfect.
Yeah.
Could you do that?
Yeah.
I almost want to do it now as I'm sitting here. It's this, yeah. And if I feel like my actual,
Oh no.
like the a-hole sits forward here a bit, and so if I was to let it out, it wouldn't go on the fence. It would squirt forward here a little bit in this kind of region there. Is that kind of where it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is
But
definitely
it was
the method.
piled up in a little mountain. Like it wasn't everywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like there wasn't some on the ground or whatever. It was literally piled in this little mountain.
Well, there's distance too. So there would have been some distance between the landing point. So as it come down, it would have
Yeah.
stacked itself, sort of squashed itself down. Like if you had a soft serve comb from a distance, but then kept stopping it off so it would fall off and then sort of plop down.
I mean, you look quite comfortable there. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not bad, actually. It's pretty good. Do you want to try it?
What?
Lily, do you want to give it a shot?
No.
No? Not interested? It's all...
Right,
It's all...
Ellie, you're gonna give it a go?
You've got to do it.
She would be the least comfortable person to do this.
I don't even sit on a public toilet. I can't even, like, this was just horrifying for me.
From years of listening to true crime, I know all too well that sometimes, in a case like this, things can get confusing. So for the sake of clarity, and in the interest of giving any budding sleuths following along at home the chance to crack the case before I do, I'm going to take a second to outline where my head was at this point in the investigation. I knew the method of the crime. I had literally squatted down in the bushes to ascertain this. And I also knew that the perpetrator of the crime was one of 3 people. Dad, Mary, or the neighbour. But of which of these 3, I wasn't sure. I also knew that with the evidence that I now had, I wouldn't ever know for sure. And it was with these thoughts in mind that I organised another interview with the siblings. But this time, I was looking for something different. This time, my aim was to establish motive.
I think the neighbour is still a very strong suspect. And I think for you, the neighbours used to be your prime suspect. But lately you seem to have shifted on that, and I'm not really sure why.
No, my initial thing was the neighbours, because they'd had the party. They were young dudes, you know. Oh yeah, go and shit in their garden. Okay, yeah, cool. Let's go do that. You know, like I'm drunk. I'll do anything.
Mm-hmm. I would have done that.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, that's what you do when you're 20 years old and full of alcohol, right? Sorry to sidetrack you from the case.
So I was like, okay, that is plausible, but would you take toilet paper on a dare? Like, when you shit, did you take toilet paper with you?
I think I would. I think I definitely would.
So, okay.
The feeling of not being wiped and pulling your pants up, I can't handle that feeling. That's something that I could not deal with.
Me either. I just wouldn't do it.
Do you know that feeling?
Do I know that feeling? I've had situations before where I've had to experience that feeling.
Oh my God.
Oh God. Nasty.
And it is not something. It's not something I could handle. So if there was a shitting in someone's down someone's driveway contest or whatever, I would take toilet paper for sure.
But do you think those kids know the experience and knew to do that?
It depends. I mean, there's a lot of different types of 20-year-olds out there, so it depends on life experience. There's a few important reasons that you'd know that.
Okay, so when you shat on wherever you did it, where did you do it? So, like, what was the context in when you did it?
So one time I was walking home from a nightclub and I was incredibly drunk, and then on the way I accidentally shat a little bit in my pants. And then I was walking. This isn't funny. I can hear laughing. And I was walking, and it actually was like, so it was rubbing, but it also was like burning, which was weird because I don't know if there was some sort of spice or something I ate, but for some reason. And then I walked, and then I remember I wanted to get to the 7-Eleven, a service station, more than I'd wanted to get anywhere in my entire life. And then I got there, took the dump, then took off the pants, cleaned myself down, and then I actually scrunched the toilet, the underwear up, and I threw it behind the toilet.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Got out of there. Quick, smart. And it is one of the worst experiences of my life. Like, it is.
Why do they always?
Very,
Oh my
very
God.
The poor person that went in there next and they're just like shit stain.
It's one of my most shameful memories. It's not something I'm proud of at all. And I feel for the person who had to clean it up. I worked in hospitality for more than 10 years. And I've been the one to clean up those messes before. So I get it. I wish I could take it back. But I think it's an important story for me to tell, because if someone had that context, then they might bring toilet paper on a prank.
With clear motive established for the neighbours, I guided the conversation to Dad, who at this point seemed to be everyone's prime suspect.
I'm still not convinced that it's Dad. I know you both are leaning that way, but is there anything you can tell me? Anything else to convince me?
Didn't you also say that he would drive to a fast food restaurant to take a dump instead of going in your house?
Yes. So when we owned the flat, fortunately, there was a toilet downstairs. So for some reason, Dad thought that his poo smelt that bad and was that terrible and whatever, that he had to go downstairs and do it. So there was a toilet downstairs. So, I'd give him a roll of toilet paper and send him on his way. And then there's been a few times here instead of going in our toilet, oh yeah, it's going to stink. I'm like, Dad, there's a fan. Like, just shut the door when you come out, leave the fan on. We'll just tell everyone not to go in there for, I don't know, an hour, half an hour, I don't know, however long it's going to take to clear the air. So there is, and then he would always go, oh, no, don't worry about it. And then he would actually drive to the nearest shopping centre and...
What, use a public toilet?
Yeah, go there.
I mean, that's motive.
That's right.
That's clear motive, I think.
And then see, he was too drunk to drive to a shopping centre.
Yeah, that's right.
And it was also too late for anything to be open.
But what is it? Is it anxiety that's causing this? Like, he thinks he's going to use his daughter's bathroom, and then it's going to be so bad that it would
overpower everyone in their sleep.
And everyone would die of methane gas.
And what about the toilet paper? Where did the toilet paper come from?
The toilet paper came from the car.
Why was there toilet paper in the car?
Because he always has toilet paper in the car.
It's a thing he taught us.
Yeah.
He always said keep toilet paper in the car.
Always. It's in the car, behind the seat, under the seat. He's always got toilet paper in his car.
That's right, he does. He fucking does, that's right. and the turd was right next to his car as well. Fuck me.
This sounds like a slam dunk, right? We've got motive, we've got means. We've even got a dusty roll of toilet paper in the vicinity of the crime. But was this a slam dunk? Or was this a red herring? Because, to be honest, with the back and hip injuries that he had at the time, I don't actually think Dad was capable of committing this act. He could barely get into a chair, let alone climb between two bushes, in the early hours of the morning, simply because he was too embarrassed to use his daughter's toilet while the entire house was asleep. And as much as I was baffled by all of this, there was still one more motive left to decipher.
For some reason, I thought it may have been Mary. And the only reason I say this is because I've never seen her drink that much. I know we established that earlier. And then kind of my mind went to her and I was like, could she have done it? Like, she was kind of awake when I went to bed, so...
I think there's still a very compelling case that it was Mary, but I need to know why she did it. That's what I'm looking for.
You know, she's pretty drunk, maybe...
She went to go look for Dad and then had the urge to shit and she had to do the next thing she thought, and then she called Dad over and was like, get me some toilet paper.
That's not bad. I mean, his car was parked right next to the crime scene, so that's not bad at all.
You know when you're kind of running through things in your head and I'm like, well, they're kind of drunk. Maybe they didn't want to walk down the hallway to the toilet.
No.
I mean,
in her case, I think she needs more for a motive than it just being more convenient. And also, I don't think she would have done it on her own either.
What do you mean on her own? What, she's got a crowd of people watching?
No, I think she'd need to be prompted somehow. Like, if it's her, it's more like a sympathy shit or something. Maybe she's shitting so hard and so loud that she's worried that she's going to keep everyone up. So then she goes outside. And it's an act of compassion.
What, does she scream when she shits or something?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
When you said sympathy shit, I thought you meant, was she shitting to make Dad feel better?
On his chest or something.
That's what I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Sympathy shit?
It's like that mummy child sex thing they have going. He's like, oh, please shit on me, mummy.
Oh.
Okay. I might have taken it a bit too far, but I mean, what if it was something like, you know, she has like, was it irritable bowel syndrome or something, or she...
Well, it crossed my mind because, you know, like there was a lot of drinking going on, you know, maybe she has problems in that area and, you know, maybe like irritable bowel and when she's got to go, she's got to go.
Hang on. Maybe that's why she doesn't drink much. Maybe this is the reason none of us have ever seen her drunk, because she's
a drunken shit.
Not a drunken shit. She has a drunken shitting problem.
She's a drunken shit.
She has a drunken shit.
Did you miss part of the word there?
Yes.
Oh my god. But I think I know what you're trying to say. You're saying that she's a drunken shitter.
She's a drunken shit. I didn't say drunken shitter. I said drunken shit.
Jesus. Okay, well, I think we're trying to say the same thing. That when she drinks, she uncontrollably shits. And I think we could work that out pretty well from the evidence. Do you remember, was the shit soft or was it hard?
Have you looked at the picture of it again?
Do we still have a picture of it?
And just like that, as we were wrapping up the motives for Mary, there was a breakthrough in the case.
Go into Messenger and find mine and your conversation, and it's literally right there.
Did you send it recently?
No, this was like years ago.
In Facebook Messenger?
Yeah.
Can you send it again?
I'll share it with you.
Oh wow, it's right there. Oh, how did I miss that? Oh my god. Oh, it's disgusting.
Of course I knew that Ellie had sent me a photo of the crime scene, but it had happened so many years before, and I'd been through so many phones since then, that I assumed that it was long gone. The only reason that the photo had survived was because Ellie chose to send it on Facebook Messenger, and that shit's forever.
The poo almost looks like a little sculpture of like a Buddha or something.
It's a lot, isn't it? That's a lot.
It's so much. I don't know if I can look at this right now. I think I've seen too much of this lately.
There's a lot of toilet paper.
All right, I'm gonna have to man up. All right, I can
There
do
is
this.
a lot. This is what I'm telling you.
Well, it's not runny, that's for sure. That rules out IBS anyway. Man, it is a mountain of shit.
Oh, it's like several logs on top of each other. That's like a long poo.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not like a quick pump and dump. It's like a...
No, it's not. Whoever did this took their time with it.
Pump and dump.
It's like a pyramid.
If you put eyes on it, it would be the poop emoji on your phone.
That's a really good analogy, actually.
What came next was a full 2-hour and 50-minute discussion where the three of us analysed every conceivable aspect of the photo in painful detail. Things like the consistency of the droppings and the differences between male and female feces. And as it turns out, there is a difference, but mainly in smell alone, which didn't help. We went down a 50-minute rabbit hole on toilet paper and the psychology of people who scrunch and the people who fold. But this topic essentially came to nothing also. One great find was that the screenshot of the photo was date stamped, so we now knew exactly when this all took place. And amazingly, it was a full 2 years earlier than we thought. But of all the scrutinising and justifying, there was really only one truly significant finding that came from the photo.
And then look, there's a flower petal right where I presume someone would have been resting their back end.
Yeah, I see that. No, it is interesting. There's a lot in that crime scene, like it...
Is that a lime sitting there? What is that? Does that look like a half a lime or?
That's a slice of lime! That's a slice of lime!
Where?
Oh my god, I've never noticed that.
Holy
It's
shit, there is a slice of lime.
Is that lime?
Oh my god!
Hang on. That's
a slice of lime.
Holy cow. I never even notice that.
And right there, clear as day, and no more than 30 centimetres from the auspicious human dump, laid a piece of lime. And I want to be precise here, because I believe it's important. The lime had been carefully cut into a wedge, not a slice, as Aria had mistakenly called it. A wedge of lime that would perfectly slide into an ice-cold Corona bottle, or be squeezed into a vodka, lime and soda.
I can't believe I didn't see that bit of lime there. What is that?
But there's nothing else but the lime. Where's the vessel for the liquid and the lime?
Because there was no,
because they were drinking that. They were drinking while they were shitting. They came there, pumped it out, had their drink, and then dropped
Poured the
lime.
drink out.
Probably finished the drink, poured it out on the ground and walked off.
Use the drink to clean their hands if it was a vodka, lime and soda.
That's potentially correct.
Yeah, but wouldn't you throw the bottle there or your glass? Why are you taking?
No, if it's a vodka, lime and soda, they pour it on their hands. That's actually
It's good hygiene.
pretty good.
That's alcohol.
Why would you take the lime out and throw it out? Are you using that to clean?
And a bit of like limey freshness.
You're not taking a fucking packed lunch or a drink with you while you go into the toilet, are you?
You know what? Ellie's right. That's right.
Okay, well, we're heading away from the fact that there's a big turd. There was a turd.
Yeah, it's true. Like, if I was going to pull a prank, I would take toilet paper. I wouldn't take a drink. And I wouldn't leave any evidence either. I think maybe this lime gives us an opportunity not to prove it was the neighbours, but maybe to disprove that it was Dad and Mary.
Well, the problem is, I don't know what we were drinking that night because I know
I don't think you were drinking anything with lime. You don't usually have limes at your house.
we might have been because we had quite a lot of like people over and parties and things.
So you had supplies.
And that's the big question that we need to answer, because if there's no lime in your house on the night, then Dad and Mary are excluded, and we know it's the neighbours. That's the question that we have to answer.
Do you have any pictures from that night of you guys?
In this day and age of social media and selfies, you would think that finding a photo from a few years ago of you partying in your backyard with some drinks wouldn't be a big ask. But in this case, that wasn't so. It does appear that Ellie will regularly post photos of her get-togethers, with group photos and drinks being raised in a cheers to the camera. But finding something from the night in question, that proved problematic.
Yeah, no, I know, but I just feel like we've been on this call for such a long time now, and we're just going around in circles looking at the same pictures over and over again. So why don't we just say goodbye, go home, and then we can all have a look through our photos and things and see what we've got. And then we'll come back next week and go through whatever.
Oh my God!
What? Ellie, what? Ellie!
Oh my God, I've just found a picture of us sitting around the fire and there's a bottle of Corona on there.
Oh.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Oh,
God!
hang on. No, sorry. I thought this was the one I was like almost having.
What the hell is that? Why would you do that?
No, see, we've got Corona. So in that picture, which is only a couple of months after.
Do you have lime? Is there a lime? Do you have lime? Ellie, do you have lime?
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. It's a couple of months after.
Yes, it does matter, because it shows they have a tendency to buy lime in that time period.
Yes, we used to put lime in it because every now and then I used to drink it.
Well, that means we can't rule out Dad or Mary as suspects. This case is still wide open.
So, after all the painstaking analysis and endless conversation, this is what I was left with. The same 3 suspects that I'd come up with months ago. Surely this isn't how it would end. My first attempt at being a true crime podcast host, and I was no better than all those unsolved mysteries that I hated so much. But what if there was a way to narrow things down? I'd just been avoiding it because I didn't want to get my hands dirty. Was it worth it?
I'm not sure how much you remember.
Let's find out.
Last time we talked, but pretty much we ended up with 3 suspects, and I couldn't narrow them down any further than that. And so when I left, I just was trying to work out a way that I could possibly cut even one suspect off just so we could narrow it down. And I did have an idea. And what I've done is I went and contacted Mary.
Oh my God. Did you really?
I really did. I really got in contact with her. I didn't want to, but I thought I had to for the sake of the case. I didn't call her. Fuck that shit. I just messaged her.
What did she say? Did she actually reply?
She did reply, but I didn't just straight text her. I was a little bit crafty about how I did it.
What the hell?
Well, I sent her a message on Facebook Messenger.
This is a little bit embarrassing. What the fuck?
Oh my God.
But before everyone starts panicking, just let me read out the message first, and then we can critique it after that. Okay. So what I sent was this is the message. Greetings all. Just helping a friend out with a uni project and need a few quick answers to some questions. So that's the first part.
But you only sent this to Mary.
Yes, I did. But I made out like I was sending a survey out to people, like I was doing a thing.
Made out like it was a thing. That's smart, but also still, Jesus.
All right, and what happened? What did she say?
Okay, so it's only 3 questions. So the first question was, what is your preferred alcoholic beverage? And to that she answered, I don't drink often, but when I do, I drink wine. The next question was, do you drink beer? And to that she responded, I don't drink beer. And then the last question was, do you drink spirits? And she answered, I never drink spirits. And so from this, I think it's pretty conclusive that on the night, she would have been drinking wine.
Well, yeah. She would have just been drinking wine, and there's no way she would have had a vodka lime and soda because she doesn't drink spirits. She never drinks spirits.
No. So I think she's out. So I think really it's just Dad or the neighbours.
Yeah, that does.
Like, there might be a slight chance it's her, but I think that's it. I think that's...
Finally, things were starting to come together, and I could see the end of this shit-stained mystery coming into focus. But before I could move forward with my conclusions and wrap up the investigation for good, there was one more niggling theory that I had kept to myself that I could no longer ignore. And to put this one to bed, I needed to speak to Ellie. Not the siblings, just Ellie.
Before I start on this, I just want to let you know that I don't have any opinions on any of this. This is just me just trying to go through all the information that I have and tick off every possible scenario. So I just want you to know that before I go forward. But the thing that I want to ask you is there a possibility that it was Bruce that left the dump in your yard?
It's not a Bruce thing at all. It's
How can you be sure of that? Like, were you with him the whole night, or you did say that he was quite drunk?
He was, but he's not I'm going to go out the front and take a massive dump in the garden just for fun.
But who does do that? This is an unusual thing to happen. So, I mean, how do you know for sure?
Like, it's an absolute, it's a no.
Okay, well, I'm willing to take your word on this. That's fine. The other question is could it maybe have been you?
Do we really want to go into this?
Well, you were drunk too, right? So maybe you drunk that much and you can't remember and you did something unusual. Is that not a possibility?
Do we not listen to like episode 1 where my fucking undie hat?
Yeah, that's a pretty good point.
Whatever episode it's on. I'm not a...
No, I believe you.
A shitter on cue.
Yeah.
You know, like...
No, it's okay. I believe you. I believe you. So... Look, I know I sound like an asshole, but it's like I said, it's just so I can knock off these loose ends. But I do have one more. And I know what the answer is going to be, but I have to ask, what about the kids? Is there a chance that one of the kids went out and left it there?
That thing was way too big for a kid to do. They might do they might do a little log, you know. Whatever, I don't know, but they might do a little log, but it's...
No, you're right. The evidence doesn't point to them.
No, it was just huge.
No, yeah, you're right. It's not.
If that came out of one of the kids, I'd be like, fuck, what else did you shit out in that thing? Because it was huge.
Yeah. It is, it's huge.
What have you eaten? Did you eat a dog? Fuck.
And with that awkward conversation firmly planted in my rearview mirror, I had all the answers that I needed, and I was ready to present my findings.
Last week I hit a point where I'm certain that I have all the evidence that I need. So what I've done is I've compiled all the evidence that I have into a few scenarios. So what I want to do is I want to go through each of the scenarios with you, and then after you hear each one, you can let me know whether you think it's busted, plausible, or if it's solved.
You are solved.
But keep in mind, if you think something's solved, you think that's exactly the way that it happened, and the case is pretty much closed then. So, yeah, so just be mindful. So if it's okay with you, I would like to go through each of the scenarios with you. How does that sound?
All right. I'm ready. Go, Detective Lucas.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Should I have a notepad?
On May the 14th, 2016, Mary sat alone in the backyard. She leaned back in the deck chair, gazing up at the stars, noticing how they swirled around her, first slow, then fast, then faster. Sucking deep breaths of air, she sat upright to stop the sickening display. Now I remember why I don't drink, she thought to herself, as she ironically took a sip of wine. There was another reason too, she thought. But surely she'd grown out of that problem.
What the hell?
Feeling normal again, she had a thought. When was the last time she saw Dad? It must have been when they said goodnight to Bruce and Ellie. And that was a while ago. Could something have happened to him? Did he need her help? Maybe he's fallen and he can't get up. She burst out of her chair, calling out to him. Reaching his car, his usual smoking spot, she was surprised to find the location empty. But she was more surprised by the loud, familiar gurgling feeling that came from her stomach. A feeling that prompted her to fumble with the button on her jeans, only managing to drag them to her ankles and fall into the nearest hedge for cover before the eruption began.
Oh my god.
Wave after wave pumped out of her before Dad appeared.
Oh, jeez.
Fixing
my
himself a
God.
drink, he had been summoned by an inhuman moaning noise and now stood aghast at the horrifying contortions on his partner's face. A
What?
precarious lime wedge was still perched atop the Corona bottle in his hand. As the raging flow slowed to random spurts,
Oh.
Mary's wide puppy dog eyes begged him for help. And Dad stepped into action, wiping down her legs and feet with his toilet paper
Oh,
stash,
no.
knocking the lime off its perch in the process.
Oh, nasty.
Unexpectedly, he did take some pleasure from all of this.
Oh.
It was nice to be tidying up her mess for a change.
What the?
Finally, as he guided her towards the house, Mary turned to Dad and said, "You can't forget to clean up everything before everyone wakes up." "Don't worry," he replied. "We won't forget."
Okay.
What
Fuck
the
is wrong
heck?
with you?
Oh, God.
That was fucked.
That's scenario one. What do you think? Do you think it's busted, plausible, or do you think it's solved?
Busted.
You are busted.
Busted.
Because
Where the
it
fuck did you
wasn't-
come up with that shit?
Well, there was a lot of shit in it, but there was no spray.
There was no spray?
She didn't spray her shit everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. I mean,
And the toilet paper didn't look dirty, sprayed. I don't know. That was fucked up.
okay, so we're busted on that one, right?
Yeah. Busted.
Busted. That wouldn't have happened.
Amazing. So that's Mary out of the picture now. So are you ready for scenario two?
I'm just that was a lot of imagery.
But that was a bit full on. Like that. That's...
Look, I'm a detective. I have to be thorough, and I need to get a real picture of what happened so we can make a real, honest decision. So it's important that it is this realistic.
You don't know the visuals I was getting. It wasn't
But
good.
these are the visuals that I've been living with every day. You've got to understand
You've
that.
been living in a pile of shit for months. Is that what you're telling us?
That is absolutely correct. And with that, let's move on to scenario number two.
Hang on, just let me take a sip of wine. Need it after that.
On May the 14th, 2016, Neighbour Boy carefully poured the whiskey into the plastic cup. He was already feeling a little buzzed and didn't want to make a fool of himself again, but it was hard to judge the amount of alcohol in the cup over the ice, and after 3 or 4 more careful pours, he topped it off with dry ginger ale and a squeeze of lime, which he threw on top for good measure. As he took a first sip, he noted that the drink may have been stronger than he anticipated, but whatever. He was sure he wouldn't do anything stupid. Cut to 5 hours later. Neighbour Boy stumbles down the dark driveway, a CC dry and lime in one hand, a roll of toilet paper in the other. How do I always end up in these situations? He asked himself. And finding a safe, comfortable position against a fence, he dropped his pants and squatted down.
Oh.
At least this time I remembered to bring toilet paper, he thought to himself. Finishing the act, he wiped, pulled up his pants, and shook the empty cup dry, forgetting about the wedge of lime inside. Then, excitedly, but also a little ashamed, he headed back towards the party next door.
All right. What do we think? We busted. We plausible.
What was
or
his
we
reason
solved?
for going down the driveway?
He's one of those guys. You know,
He's-
when he gets drunk, he makes a fool of himself. You didn't get that from that
Right.
story?
I mean, it could happen.
I mean, like, I guess it could. I mean, there was a party going on. I mean, yeah, it's not out of the question, but
So what does that put you on? Is that busted or is that plausible?
I'm going to go with plausible.
You are plausible.
I'm going with plausible as well, but
I mean, probably not in that way, but
What other way is there?
hey, I'll give you $100 if you go and shit in that garden. Okay, let me get my toilet paper and my fucking wedge of lime.
Well, it still could have happened that way. Like it was 5 hours later, so you don't know what happened before then.
yeah.
And that's the thing. I thought it was very possible that that's how it happened. And that's why I had them drinking Canadian Club and Dry rather than vodka, lime, and soda. That's so much more the drunken 20-year-old drink.
It's plausible. It's plausible, and I'd prefer that to the imagery of the one before.
Okay.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
I'm still shook from that.
Well, you do know there is one more left to go.
Oh, God.
So here is scenario number 3.
Oh, God.
On May the 14th, 2016, Dad watched Mary climb into bed. "I'll be right behind you," he said, in his most sober voice. "Just one last drink and I'm done." As Dad sat the lime wedge atop the beer bottle, he felt the straps from the homemade back brace press against his belly, reminding him of what needed to be done. It had already been 2 full days since his last bowel movement, but even so, that glass of red wine and coke had shaken something loose inside of him, and he knew that he couldn't wait another night.
Oh, my God.
There's no way he could use Bruce and Ellie's bathroom. This thing had been fermenting inside him for far too long for that. The smell alone might wake his grandchildren. He had planned to drive somewhere before Mary noticed he was missing, but now, sitting behind the steering wheel, he thought better of it. What if he just went here? He asked himself. There seemed to be a spot by the car door protected by hedges. Who would ever know? With shorts around his knees, he inched his way backwards into location. Thank God he was wearing his back brace, he thought. This would be impossible without its extra support. And as his behind touched the fence, it rested on a thick wooden beam. And just then, without warning, came the explosion.
Oh, my God.
Like thick coiled rope being pulled from his insides, down and out below him.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my
He felt the
God.
pressure release, until all at once, it was gone.
Oh, my God.
In the chaos of the moment, he didn't even realise that he had knocked his drink over. But luckily, he did manage to save half the liquid inside. As he wiped himself clean, he heard someone calling his name. "Can't she leave me alone for 5 minutes? I'm not a fucking child," he muttered to himself, realising it was Mary. "I'm coming, Mary. Just give me 2 seconds," he yelled back at the disembodied voice, annoyed. And with that, he pulled up his pants and rushed towards the house, as the entire drunken incident was lost to his alcohol-soaked short-term memory bank.
All right. So, what do you think?
Jesus.
What do you think of that?
That was a lot.
That was a lot.
What the fuck is that imagery that you're trying to portray?
You've got to. That's how it has to be. You've got to respect the imagery because that's how I see it. That's what the evidence has told me. So
Did
you
you,
have
did
to
you
respect
have to
that. At
say
least.
the explosion erupted or whatever? I
Like
was
rope
just
from
like,
his
man.
insides.
You can't argue with that. As a detective, I have to follow the evidence, and that's what it tells me. It was like there was a thick rope that was inside of him, and then it was like it was getting pulled out from his lower intestine to the ground.
Oh, Jesus.
It would have been painful, but it also would have been a great relief, like bursting a pimple or something.
I mean, that. Just trying to take in all of this.
I know. I know.
I don't expect you to enjoy my findings, but I do expect you to respect them.
What are our 3 options again? I'm a bit disturbed.
It's busted, plausible, or solved.
I think that's the most plausible answer.
Yeah, I'm going to have to say it's more plausible because of just the where it was positioned and the toilet paper.
Well, the toilet paper in the car, his smoking spot, you guys were drinking Coronas around that time. I think it ticks all the boxes in the most simplistic way. And it was a huge, huge shit.
Well, all of that's true, but I hear you saying it's the most plausible. Do you think it's the most plausible, or do you think it's solved?
We're never going to know, are we?
We're never going to know.
But that sucks. I want to have a conclusion. I don't want to end like this.
Well, because we don't actually know. Like, we don't know. Like, there's no...
Well, just ask Dad then.
Do you think he's going to admit it? Do you think he's going to admit to doing that in my yard?
He might. Would you ask him?
It's going to have to be you, Ellie, that asks him. Can't be Lucas or I. It's your yard.
No. I mean, it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're right. We can't ask you to do that.
A few months back, when I found myself travelling down this true crime journey, I promised myself that no matter what happened, I would refuse to let this episode end unresolved. But after all this time, here I was. This must be how the prosecution in Matthew Broderick's car murder trial felt, when he got away with only paying a $175 fine and no jail time. What a supremely unsatisfying way to end things. I guess I'm just not built to be a true crime detective after all. At least, that's what I was feeling in this moment anyway.
And think whatever you think, but for me it's such a downer because I don't get closure on this thing. And I just was putting everything in to try and get a solution for this. And it just sucks that I don't get that.
To be honest, for me, I believe it's him. And I mean, that sounds really, really horrible to think that about your dad, but for me, the evidence points to him doing it.
It points to him for me too, but I've just got 3 strong scenarios, and every time I think that I'm ready to settle on one, I can't help it. The evidence leads me to different directions, so it just makes it really difficult to have to be the detective in all this.
I'm saying it's Dad, and I'm saying in my head it's solved.
Well, where does that leave me, though?
What's your gut instinct?
When Aria asked me this question, I was floored. During this investigation, I thought that I had considered everything, but I never considered my own gut feelings. And that's like one of a detective's great superpowers, right? Where would Clarice Sterling have been without her instincts? Certainly not busting down Buffalo Bill's door, that's for sure. And as these thoughts sunk in, I leaned forward to respond.
I mean, yeah, I think it's Dad. I think it's pretty obvious that it's Dad.
It was Dad. It has to be.
So is that it? Do we change it to a solved? Is that it?
It has to be. Like, I mean...
All right. Case solved. We did it.
You are solved.
If you want to take a crack at solving this mystery for yourself, there's a link to the crime scene photo in the description. Next time, in the dramatic and revealing Season 1 finale, I get an outside opinion for some new perspective.
Okay, I've been recording now for 15 seconds.
That is my wife, Lily.
It's official. You're on the record.
And after literally years of bouncing ideas for the podcast off this poor woman, now felt like the right time to get her on the record.
Okay.
Ooh. How does it feel? Does it feel weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel a bit nervous.
Don't be nervous. There's nothing to be nervous about. Just a regular conversation with this asshole.
The asshole that I live with.
That's it. That's me.
That's next time on Walking on Eggshells with an Emotional Vampire. Do you have a theory for who left the giant shit in Ellie's yard? Well, Lucas fucking Shaw wants to hear about it. Click on the link in the description to go to our questions forum. Or leave us an email at eggshellvampire@gmail.com. That's eggshellvampire@gmail.com. Also, I want to take a second to thank everyone who has supported us over the first 6 episodes. Growing a podcast audience is a difficult thing to do, and we really do appreciate everyone's help. Walking on Eggshells with an Emotional Vampire is written, edited, and produced by me, Lucas Shaw. Thanks for listening.